The destruction in the Florida Keys, population 75,000, is staggering. FEMA reported today that Hurricane Irma destroyed a quarter of the houses. Nearly two-thirds of the rest have major damage. President Trump will go to Florida Thursday to see for himself what Irma did to the state. The storm is blamed for at least 6 deaths in Florida, 3 in Georgia, and 4 in South Carolina. We begin tonight with Elaine Quijano in Ramrod Key, just east of where Irma made her initial U.S. landfall Sunday morning.
It is miles of destruction, house after house, block after block, roofs torn off, boats on the road, and RVs mangled in trees. Irma's path of destruction cut through the Florida Keys. Residents in Isla Mirada who didn't evacuate came out to look at the damage.
This was a big part of my life for 15 years. I've lived here, and it's just, in one moment it's gone. So it's hard to figure out where you're going to start over.
The Florida Keys are 112 miles long, but citing safety concerns, officials are only allowing residents who evacuated to return just 33 miles in.
ID, please.
Those who did evacuate are trying to get in. At a checkpoint near the Upper Keys, residents slept in their cars and waited for hours just to see if they still have a home.
This is bull.
But as anxious residents lost patience, tensions rose.
I have water, I have food, I have dogs, and I can't get to my
This should
house.
have been thought out
20
a while
miles
ago.
away.
Sam Nuccio drove down to check on his house at Big Pine Key, but was told to turn around.
We can't get in the way of emergency vehicles and cleanup crews and everything like that. I believe that's what's going on.
This is what you're feeding the EOC?
EOC is eating ribs and barbecue ribs and chicken tonight.
In Marathon, restaurant owner Simone Nullis stayed behind to feed first responders and others who didn't leave.
I do got a family here.
She let boat owner Carl Spavold stay in her condo, which he says saved his life.
Everybody will take their shirt off their back to help you. If you hang around long enough, you'll see that.
They saw each other for the first time since Irma.
Here in the Lower Keys, it is not clear when residents who evacuated will be allowed to return to their homes. And with one look at this neighborhood here in Ramrod Key, it is easy to understand why. Residents here reported multiple tornado warnings when Hurricane Irma's eye passed overhead, leading to the destruction of homes throughout this area. Anthony.
Elaine Quijano in the devastated Florida Keys. To get a wider picture of the damage in the Keys, Mark Strassman took to the skies.
This is Big Pine Key, just below Marathon. The monster storm's Category 4 winds, churning 130 miles per hour, shredded this neighborhood. It turned this trailer park upside down, stacked these RVs as though a child had thrown his toys across the room, and turned this boatyard into a jumble of insurance claims.
For days, the Florida Keys were cut off, but as residents slowly begin to return, they're being greeted by scenes of devastation. Basic amenities like water, power and medical services are limited and will remain so for weeks, if not months. Millions of homes and businesses across the state remain without power. Restoration is now a priority for officials. That may be a problem next time officials tell people to leave, but for now this state's focused on repairing and rebuilding. Andy Gallagher, Al Jazeera, Miami Beach, Florida.
As residents try to get home, and many are finding scenes of devastation like these from the Florida Keys.
Well, the destruction is so widespread, officials haven't been able to assess the total damage yet. ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Isla Mirada, Florida, with more. Good morning, Victor.
This morning, devastation across the Florida Keys.
I can't even believe it.
As residents are allowed to stream back into the ruins for the first time, they're just beginning to assess all the damage.
I didn't expect it to be this bad, honestly.
Homes completely flattened, while others ripped right off their foundation.
It was hell. You didn't know if you were going to make it or not.
According to FEMA, Irma damaged or destroyed 90% of all the homes in the Keys. From above, islands once lined with beachside villas and luxury condos, now scarred with shredded rooftops, buildings reduced to rubble, and mountains of debris where homes once stood.
We'd spend time with my grandparents in this house.
The Air National Guard surveying all the damage from the air. You can see neighborhoods completely shredded. David Muir on the ground as they went home to home, assessing the damage, searching for casualties and survivors.
People were trying to shelter in place in their homes. It just was not substantial for the type of weather that occurred here.
The Florida Keys just 112 miles long. This morning, officials only allowing people who evacuated into the first 33 miles. Residents growing frustrated.
I have water, I have food, I have dogs, and I can't get to my house.